So my fitness journey started, I can literally remember the date, 2017, early January. I remember looking in the mirror after a couple of months of terrible, terrible times in hospital, having really, really bad digestive issues, being diagnosed with inflammatory bowel disease, and experiencing some of the most scary times. And I had just gained all of this weight. I had always been the fat kid. But I looked in the mirror at that point and I was so mentally deflated and in such a bad place that I said something needed to change. And this was after my whole life of having disordered eating, but not really knowing it until I'd kind of got into coaching and got into the position where I started to teach myself about disordered eating. And I watched some impressive people who had gone on their own weight loss journeys, talking to others on YouTube by documenting their journey. I learned how to track my calories. And then from there, I started to lose body weight, and it was not in a healthy way whatsoever. Not at all, by any means. And one of my biggest regrets to this day is not getting someone to help me to know what I was doing, because I ended up with a binge eating disorder and I battled with body image issues for many years. But it was the starting point of learning about how I could build my confidence, and then also how I could get myself to a position where I was going to eventually become healthier through all of that research that I did. And a few years after that, and we're here today, 5 years later.
What type of body image issues did you struggle with, and how did you overcome them?
The body image issues that I struggled with, at first it was just a significant lack of self-confidence. I would cover myself in makeup, really, really baggy, dark clothes. And I was quite a reserved and frustrated, angry person because I really just always felt like I didn't belong in my body. And then when I did begin to progress with fat loss, I always saw myself as if I was still the big person. I still went into the shop and I picked up the size 14, 16 rather than now the size 8 that I was. So it was really, really difficult for many years to actually see my body kind of change after, I'd been overweight since I was probably in my early teens. As a child, I should have not had that much body fat on me, so it would have been much healthier. So I always really struggled when I did lose that weight. And then when I decided to go into muscle building phases, or at least my early ones, I really, really, really struggled with seeing myself put any body fat back on. So it was constantly this pushing and pulling of which direction do I go to, and actually accepting that I was changing and that I wasn't just stuck in the body that I'd hated my whole life.
How did your health issues mold your mindset over the years?
I think I went through the stages of grief when it came to my health issues, because initially I was terrified, I was sad, then I was angry, then I was in denial. Acceptance took a very, very long time to arrive. But when you're being told that you've got a chronic health condition which is going to affect you for the rest of your life, and it's going to have to change the way that you function day to day, what you eat, the way that you manage stress levels, all of these different things, I wasn't just going to take the NHS's shitty advice as an answer. I was a scientist. I studied for my master's degree in chemistry for a reason, because I always loved to know the reason why. And so I went absolutely 100% in on finding out why and how I can protect my health. And I was relentless, because I believe it more than anything that health is the greatest form of wealth that you have. And if there was anything that I could do to protect my health, then I would. And so it just put this drive into me, like a drive that I've never had before, to really make sure that I was doing the more difficult things of learning how to care for myself, making harder decisions, making sacrifices that necessarily I didn't want to make, and not just going through the motions of life anymore, but actually starting to become more self-aware and understand how I was truly doing.
How did you find changing your food sources, not removing dairy and going vegan compared to how they were before?
So when it came to changing my nutrition habits, at first it wasn't driven from an aspect of thinking that would improve my health, because I hadn't understood that yet. I just wanted to lose body weight. I just wanted to lose body fat. I, for other reasons, decided that I wanted to go vegetarian, but after a while of noticing that certain highly processed foods, lots of alcohol, I was a uni student at the point of being diagnosed, all of these things kept causing more flare-ups, more digestional issues, And it just got to the point where my health outweighed the taste, the texture, the benefits, and the social aspects of those things. So I took them away. I decided that I was just going to go completely plant-based. I was going to limit alcohol to just be every so often and in small amounts. And it was, in the end, really easy because I was at the point where I would literally do anything not to compromise my health. So it wasn't that difficult.
Why did you set up Team CVM?
The reason that I launched my coaching business was because inherently, after all of this time researching, changing my life, improving my health, and starting to finally, for the first time ever, feel confident in my body, which I never ever thought that I would get to. I thought I was genetically destined to always just hate the body that I was in. I decided that actually I had something to offer, because I started to kind of think in certain situations, oh, actually, I kind of know how to solve this person's problem, and I'd really love to help them because I know what it's like to go through it alone. And so I just really started out with the basics, offering people free help, free guidance, free advice, learning more, putting myself through more education. And I fell in love with the process because I've always been a people person. I've always been really, really invested in those who I have a great relationship with. And I realized that when it came to the coaching, that this was something that I could have continuously. Like, I could really invest in someone's journey and give them everything that they need. And it just was ultimately something that made me feel really, really happy. And for the first time ever, like, I had a sense of purpose. And I found my sense of purpose in helping others. And over the years, seeing hundreds of women become really, really confident and saying, thank you, you know, we couldn't have done this without you. That was something that ultimately I knew that I had finally come on this earth to make a difference. And that is the difference that I made by forming Team CBM. And now as Team CBM grows, it's changing the lives of others, not only to get more women super confident, both in their mindset, how they think, their knowledge, their education, and their bodies, but also by improving the knowledge of coaches, improving the knowledge of individuals who engage with our service, and just actually cutting out the bullshit and the fad crap that is in this industry, and actually putting something that's really, really genuine, authentic out there. And that's hard work, that's motivation, lots of care, and an amazing community. And I couldn't be more proud of it. I never imagined that it would get to where it is now, but I could not be more proud of it.
What does CBM mean?
CBM stands for confidence in body and mind. Without being confident in your mindset, the way that you think, the way that you treat yourself, the way that you show up every day, even if I gave you your perceived body of your dreams, you would still not be confident. So to actually be confident within yourself, you're super aware that you have a high level of self-worth and you know what you really appreciate about yourself, those qualities, just how you show up to the world, along with the fact that you have morphed your physique into something that you've wanted to build it to, and you've created that yourself, you've chiseled it. That is what CBM stands for. It stands for completely transforming yourself into someone that you never ever thought that you could be, but it's always who you wanted to be, the best version of you, not making yourself into anyone else, but the best version of you.
What type of people work with Team CBM?
At Team CBM, we work with so many different types of women, but one thing that tends to be very common is that all of these women are very, very busy women. They are women who have a lot of responsibilities, whether that's with relationships, family, businesses. They are people who often find themselves not putting themselves first. And this is something that myself, inherently, I had struggled with it for years, and it's why I got into a position where I wasn't that happy within myself. And one of the biggest things that I've had to learn over the years is teaching others to put themselves first. And that's who we work with. Women who are confident, thereabouts confident in the gym. They're kind of intermediates as a minimum. They have some knowledge with training. They want to take themselves to that next level, but they can't get to that next level because they can't put themselves first, and they always find themselves pouring from an empty cup. Those are primarily the type of women that we work with. However, we work with anyone who is ready to change, who is really good at communicating and wants to form a great relationship with their coach, and ultimately wants to become confident in body and mind, because you will move towards your priorities.
Outside of time, what is the biggest struggle that people face?
The biggest struggle that people face is ultimately, one, not knowing the exact path and structure as to how to get to their goal, or second guessing themselves, being full of self-doubt, then they're quite stressed about the process, and we remove that for them. We are their second brain. We really, really help them to just stay calm, level-headed, and we're more so the people who take the math out of the equation. We do everything and just say, okay, let's go and do it. And if you need anything, you know that I'm always here. And I think that's the most important thing that just provides this huge sense of relief to what can be a very complex process, is when you don't have to think about it, you can just get to go and do it. But you also have the understanding as to why you're doing what you're doing. It's really, really nice because you're cruising through rather than actually having to think of the process, implement the process, hold yourself accountable to the process, which is incredibly challenging. And it's why I spent 4 or 5 years yo-yo dieting and going through eating disorders, because I never just allowed someone else to take the reins.
What's the one thing, the biggest thing that people get when they go through the whole journey of CBM?
The biggest takeaway that people get when they join CBM is ultimately what CBM stands for: being more confident within their body and their minds. But not only that, I think we form this alliance. There's this coaching alliance. The community is powerful. There is an element of belonging. And I think that's the most important thing, that even when people leave the coaching because they've got everything that they've needed out of it for themselves specifically at that time, they are still there. They're still engaging within the community, and they still feel empowered because whatever decision that they make moving forwards, they understand that it's the right one for themselves, because they've finally learned how to put their own needs, their own desires first, and most importantly, their mental and physical well-being. Yes, their body composition will change and it will improve, but nothing comes before their mental and physical well-being. And when you get that harmony of all of that achieved along with the most amazing community, it's really, really nice because it is a transformative experience.
What's the future of CBM got in store?
So as Team CBM develops, my hope is that I can ensure that we touch the lives of as many women as possible to transform them into being more confident in their body and minds. But particularly what is really, really important to me is that element of knowledge and the support and the specialism that we will have for all team members is continuously improving. So the top level of service, you could not be more confident with the fact that not only do you have this incredible community feel, this community aspect, the element of care and support is phenomenal, but over time you will have specialists in different areas who will be able to support you with the absolute best quality with whatever you will possibly need.